Hi, I'm Dr. Robin Koslowitz, YouTube's post-traumatic parenting expert. Today I am going to talk about a resource for parenting that if you don't know about yet, you need to find out about. I am referring to my slight obsession with Professor Emily Oster and her Parent Data series, her books, everything from Expecting Better to Crib Sheet to The Family Firm to her new book, The Unexpected. Dr. Oster's books are so incredible, and what Emily Oster is doing is something that I don't even realize I don't think she realizes is what she's doing. So if you're a post-traumatic parent and you have a lot of questions about your parenting, if panic headlines in the news keep you up late at night and you read about, bug spray could cause cancer and how much screen time is too much screen time and screen time is causing the epidemic of anxiety right now and you should really only be using parenting scripts. You should never be using parenting scripts. Parenting scripts are turning kids into zombies. You should play more puzzles with your children because it creates a 16% boost in math scores. You should send your kids to a Montessori school. You should never send your kids to a Montessori school. If these are the kind of things that keep you up at night, when you want to make a decision like this, if you've ever asked yourself, how can I optimize or perfect my children's childhood or my parenting? I have news for you. You are officially in post-traumatic parenting territory, and you are officially someone who really needs to check out Parent Data and everything that Emily Oster is doing. So as a post-traumatic parenting expert, I'm going to tell you that one of the hallmarks of post-traumatic parenting is parental self-doubt syndrome. A lot of post-traumatic parents feel like, I know what not to do, but what should I actually do? How do I do it right? And lacking that sense of that gut instinct, that, parenting instinct that other people talk about all the time and that I feel like, oh, I don't have that. Parenting is sometimes, attachment is sometimes described as having an internal working model. And when you haven't had good attachment experiences, you don't have an internal working model. So how do I parent if my internal working model is broken? This is one of the big questions I get in parenting classes all the time. Now, one advantage I have, because I had these questions too, is I am a clinical child psychologist. I spent years studying trauma and years studying child development. And when you study anything, you know what you spend a lot of time studying? How to study. You study research methods. You study statistics. You learn how to unpack research studies and understand them. So what happens is, a lot of times there are these headlines, what Emily Oster calls panic headlines in the news, that talk about, bug spray causing cancer, is there cadmium or lead in dark chocolate, parents who don't play puzzles with their kids or don't give their kids music lessons or don't play chess with their kids. There's this 16% boost in math scores or IQ points or whatever that would come if you would do those things. And then parents really start to doubt themselves. Am I doing it all wrong? Maybe I need to use a different brand of diaper. Maybe I need to use a different brand of bug spray. Maybe I shouldn't send my kids to day camp in the summer. Maybe I should send my kids to day camp in the summer. Should I give them extra math enrichment? Should I not? Right? And these are all questions that come up. So here's the thing that's really important to know. If you are post-traumatic, the minute we're talking about optimizing, perfecting, hustling, all of that ideology, all of those words means we're in trauma therapy. We're in trauma territory, right? We're in the territory of how do I make decisions knowing that I have trauma. We don't have to optimize our children's lives or their childhood. A 6% gain in math skills is not that high. The study that was based on was probably flawed and likely doesn't apply to your family. But you might not know that because you might not know how to work with data and how to understand data. So I get questions like this all the time. I should be doing puzzles with my kids. I just read, it came up in my Google feed that parents who do puzzles with their children have, a 6% gain in their math scores. And then you look at the study, and the study was 6 kids in Sweden in a Montessori school. Highly specific population and a very, very small boost. Even 16% would not be that high of a boost, but the headline makes it sound like any parent who is not immediately dropping what they're doing, running to a store, buying puzzles, and skipping making dinner to sit on the floor and make sure to do puzzles with their 4-year-old is absolutely messing up that 4-year-old's life. So if you already have parental self-doubt because you have trauma, these types of panic headlines feed right into that. I have the expertise to look at a study and say, oh, wait, and I'm not a statistician. Like, that's not what I do. My dissertation was more qualitative research, interviewing people and noticing common themes, and it was quantitative research. I have done some quantitative research looking at data sets and understanding large populations. So I know how to do that, but it's not the thing I geek out on the most. Thankfully, Emily Oster exists, so you can read a book like The Family Firm and you can figure out what the bottom line is. And with a lot of these things that we obsess over and we worry about and we debate about on social media, a lot of them really do boil down to pragmatic, what's best is what works for your family. And the truth is, that instinct of, I know what not to do, but what should I actually do? That what not to do instinct, those are the things, if you look at the data, that are actually important. Don't abuse your kids. Don't hit them. Don't spank them. Don't yell at them excessively. Do play with them. Do read to them. Do give them opportunities for exploration and learning and growth. Do have some sort of a plan for talking to them about their emotions and social and emotional learning. Those are the do's. Those are the don'ts. Everything else is really inflated, especially when people use numbers. There's a fantastic book that I used to like to use when I was taking research classes and when I was helping other students. It's called How to Lie with Statistics. And the idea with that book is basically, the famous quote from Benjamin Disraeli, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. Statistics are very easy to cherry pick and to cut to fit the cloth and to state in a way. Like 16% sounds differently than less than a quarter, right? If I say less than a quarter of kids who played with puzzles with their dads did better on math, that doesn't sound very compelling. But a 16% gain, somehow that sounds compelling. And I'm conflating numbers because that doesn't actually translate. But you know what I mean, where you're taking a number and you're making it sound like, whoa, huge, when in fact it's teeny tiny and it's probably very population specific. Does that mean you shouldn't do puzzles with your kids? If you like puzzles and your kid likes puzzles and puzzles float your boat, do puzzles with your kid. It may or may not help their math score, but what it probably will help is your parent-child relationship if the two of you have a shared activity that you both enjoy doing together. But who's to say that their math skills wouldn't be improved even more by going on a nature walk with you? Because there's some research about that. The fact is, the pragmatic things, the pragmatic information that we've known for a very long time is really what works. Worrying about optimization takes us into trauma territory. Professor Oster has a very good thesis for why the mommy wars, and I think she's right. She says that the mommy wars are coming from the human tendency to reduce cognitive dissonance. You know how people will have these passionate debates about, nursing versus bottle feeding or co-sleeping versus sleep training. And they will have these passionate debates because, if I really believe that nursing is the be-all and end-all and it is what is going to promote attachment and it is super important for my kid, whether it's because of allergy benefits or health benefits or attachment benefits or bonding benefits, I hope it's not because of economic benefits. Because if you're telling me that nursing is free, then I'm going to point out to you that your time is worth money and your focus and your attention are worth money. So hopefully you're not nursing because of economic benefits. Professor Oster makes a very good point about that in her book. But if you're nursing because of you really believe it and it's something that you've really turned your life over to do because it takes a lot of effort. I say this as someone who nursed twins. I say this as someone who tried to nurse all of my children for as long as I possibly could. If you really believe that this is really, really important, and then someone else says, not all that important, the desire to defend your life choices gets very big in your brain. And hence those mommy wars. The truth is bottle best? Is nursing best? Fed is best. Do what works for you and your kids. Is co-sleeping best? Is sleep training best? Slept is best. Do what works for your kids. So if you look at the data, there isn't anything definitive that you can point to in the data. I will tell you that for those of us who are post-traumatic parents who have PTSD, people with PTSD frequently have an enhanced startle response. We frequently, we are very light sleepers. So if you are a post-traumatic parent and you've tried to co-sleep with your baby because you heard it's best for attachment and then it didn't work for you, don't beat yourself up about it. A lot of the myths about attachment parenting come from the book by that name by Dr. William Sears, which it talks about attachment, but it's quite a behavioral approach that probably has more to do with Dr. Sears' religious views on how maternal behavior should be, more than it does to do with actual science and research on attachment, more than it has to do with actual science and research on parenting. If you like that book, if that book works for you, if that method works for you, go for it. If co-sleeping works for you, I have a sister-in-law who says if I wouldn't co-sleep, I would get no sleep. Great, if that works for you. If I try to co-sleep, I don't sleep the entire night. I also, because I have PTSD, I sometimes have very bad nightmares. I will lash out. I would not want that to happen to my baby, right? But I'm not going to believe that because I don't co-sleep, I am therefore harming my baby. I'm not going to believe that a mother who does co-sleep is harming her baby or isn't harming her baby. Slept is best because sleep is a mood stabilizer, so do what works. So when you read Emily Oster's books, when you read, there's A Family Firm, there's Crib Sheet, there's Expecting Better, there's The Unexpected. When you read her books, what she does really well is she gives you that bottom line. So that way you can get a really balanced approach. So if, the amount of cadmium that may or may not be in dark chocolate is keeping you up at night, because you finally came up with a snack your kid will eat. She likes the Trader Joe's dark chocolate, chips in yogurt, and she'll eat that. And you're congratulating yourself with some berries, and you're congratulating yourself because you've gotten her to eat a relatively healthy snack. And then the next day, a panic headline comes out about cadmium in dark chocolate. You need to know how to weigh that data. You need to know how to think through that information and come up with an approach that works for you. And the thing about statistics is it's really easy to lie with statistics. So we need a method for sifting through the noise, especially for post-traumatic parents who already second-guess ourselves so much. But remember, if you're a post-traumatic parent and you're thinking in terms of optimizing your children's childhood, you're in trauma territory. The trauma app in your brain is trying to parent your children instead of you parenting your children. Because the fact is there is no way to optimize their childhood. And the fact is we shouldn't try to optimize their childhood. D.W. Winnicott, who was the originator of one of the originators of object relations theories, in some ways one of the first pediatricians to really weigh in on parenting. He's the one who spoke about the transitional object, right? Like your lovey or your stuffed toy. D.W. Winnicott said that even the beneficial is toxic in the excess. He's the one who coined the term good enough mothering. It's really important to be a good enough mother. It's really important to be a good enough father. It's really important to be a good enough parent. That's what you need to do. Optimizing is by definition the opposite of good enough. If you're trying to optimize, you're in trauma territory. Your child needs to have a normative, healthy childhood, where occasionally you might mess up a little bit. And occasionally there might be a missed opportunity. And yeah, had you played more puzzles with him, his math scores would be a percentage or two higher. And it really won't matter in the long run because his childhood will be normative and healthy. But if you need that antidote to this kind of parental panic and perfectionism, wow, that was a lot of P's in one sentence. If you need that kind of antidote, I really strongly suggest checking Emily Oster out, checking those books out. This is just my love letter to Emily Oster and to what she has done for post-traumatic parents, because I doubt when she wrote her book that she even had post-traumatic parents in mind. It sounds to me like she was talking about any parent who has these questions. But post-traumatic parents especially are very susceptible to panic headlines. We are very susceptible to being second guessed. We are very susceptible to immediately doubting ourselves the minute we think of something simply because a headline came out there and said something different. We're very susceptible to social media shaming and blaming and getting into these mommy wars online where we don't know what to do. And then there's some influencer who claims to know what to do. It's very easy to just sort of get dragged down to it. Do what works for you. Do what works for your family. Do what works for your baby. There actually isn't a ton of data on a lot of these very minute decisions that we're trying to make. How much screen time is too much screen time? How many puzzles would you need to play with your 4-year-old to increase math scores? Because most of those studies are flawed. They're for specific populations. The results don't necessarily generalize. They're way too small of a sample size. There are other factors that could be leading to the gain that have nothing to do with the puzzles. There are a lot of problems with a lot of those studies. The basics make sense. Don't spank your kids. Try really hard not to yell at them as much as possible. Try to be as consistent as possible. Get them to sleep. Feed them regular, healthy, normal food without making yourself crazy in any direction. Just make sure they eat. Make sure they eat a relatively balanced diet. Those are the things you want to do. Take them to their pediatrician. Do their homework with them. These are the basics of parenting that we sometimes forget in our rush and struggle to optimize. Let's not optimize. Let's do what works instead. So if you haven't already, check out Cribsheet, check out the Family Firm Expecting Better. One of the other really fantastic things she really lays out is how to use tech tools to simplify a lot of the family tasks and responsibilities. And really, rather than telling you what decision to make, she does a very good job of helping us figure out how to make the decision, which information to put in and which information to not bother with in order to make the decision, because the decision itself is usually not all that important. What matters is how we make it. So this is my pitch on why all of those books, Parent Data, the entire Parent Data project is so helpful for post-traumatic parents. So please check it out if you haven't already. If you have a parenting question, if there's some burning parenting issue that you'd like to ask about, please comment below, let me know. If you would like to hang out with the post-traumatic parenting community, we hang out on Instagram at Dr. Kozlowitz Psychology, and I am very available there on DMs to discuss. If you have any other parenting conundrum, if there's a parenting book that you want me to review and you want to get the post-traumatic take on that book, let me know, because that's what we're doing here. Till next time.